So thanks everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. We're really excited to talk about the Learning Days initiative. The team that's going to be presenting today have done an enormous amount of work in creating these resources and developing this agenda. So this is great, and look forward to your questions about next steps in this initiative. I just want to briefly introduce EGAP for those of you who aren't very familiar with us. We are a network basically that focuses on innovation in governance, and we have four substantive domains in which we do our work. This includes innovations with respect to institutions and governance, so things having to do with accountability and service delivery and other institutional questions. We have work on innovation and strategies to mitigate societal conflicts, innovations and strategies to reduce poverty and inequality, and then innovations in the conduct of elections, promoting representation and political participation. And so we have different types of work that we do in all of these domains. As a network, we have 237 academics and practitioners from around the world. We have members who are both individual researcher members and then also both researchers and practitioners who represent a variety of governmental, intergovernmental, multilateral, and civil society organizations around the world. And the map to the right shows, the representation of our current membership network, but this is something that we're working on to try and get better coverage in other parts of the world as well. And EGAP, it functions as a sort of support network and a collective. I'm the executive director, but I'm a member, and my term as executive director is an elected one, and one that only lasts a few years, and then we turn it over to others. Similarly, our other directorship positions are elected and of limited duration, and so we function as a collective, really. And we function as a support network as well. And what do we support? Well, we support academic and practitioner collaboration. This type of engaged research is really at the heart of what EGAP's all about. We also teach each other methodological skills. And so this works, for the researchers to keep our tools sharp and, to have an understanding of what the current state of the art is methodologically, and then also for the practitioners in the network to gain an understanding so that when they're working with researchers, when they're either consuming or commissioning or otherwise collaborating on research initiatives, everybody can be on the same page. We support each other in the actual design and implementation of studies, and then we support each other in disseminating results and helping each other to learn, and also help others in among stakeholders in government, civil society, and so on, to learn about these innovations that we're trying to discover. So next slide, please. So that turns to today's presentation, where we're going to be talking about the Learning Days initiative, and in particular launching a book, an online resource, set of resources really, that should allow for the broad dissemination of the types of learning tools and kits that can allow for broader uptake of the type of methods that EGAP members typically use in their collaboration. This is a project that was put together by Jake Bowers, Martin Vorse, and Naomi Achino, and so they're going to be doing most of the talking today. Jake Bowers, he is our current EGAP Methods Director, an elected position again, as well as being an associate professor in political science at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Martin Vorse is the former EGAP Trainings Director and is an associate professor of economics at Wageningen University. And then Naomi Achino is the current EGAP Trainings Director and an Associate Professor of Political Science at Emory University. So I'm delighted now to hand over the reins to Jake, Martin, and Naomi.
Thanks, Cyrus. It's really good to see all of you here from my screen. Weird to be so remote, but great to say something about an effort that started roughly 7 years ago when we started the Learning Days in an effort to help build capacity in experimental social science research amongst principal investigators, be them researchers, academics, evaluators at civil society organizations and governments. And these great academics and evaluators that we've met all deal with important questions, both academically as well as for policy, but often may lack access to advanced level workshops on causal inference methods. So in addition, we saw a need to help create and help foster links between researchers and policymakers worldwide. And in response, we created the Learning Days. Next slide. Oh, you got it. Okay. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong screen. So these Learning Days have typically been a week long, and we're fortunate enough to have brought many of our EGAP colleagues to the workshops that we organized in various locations in Africa and the Latin American continent. This allowed for lots of interactions between the participants and the instructors, which is something greatly valued by our participants, to spend one-on-one time on your own research design questions. Now, all of these workshops were kindly hosted by EGAP institutional members, so partners at universities or civil society organizations. Now, the applicants apply with their own projects, often focusing on a political, institutional, economic, or social problem, but with a design that they can actually see being implemented. And then during the workshop, participants work to advance their knowledge on causal inference topics and help to improve their own. So then in the workshop, we go from learning about the theory of experiments and causal inference to its implications for the design choices that they make. For that, we use lectures on causality, randomization, measurement, threats to internal validity, focusing on power, etc. We bring our own design talks and that of others to the fore as examples of experimental social science research work. We have exercises on statistics, programming, and the main core concepts, but in addition, we spend lots and lots of time working together one-on-one with the participants to discuss, design, redesign, and improve their own projects. Next slide. And with that, we've greatly benefited from the time that was contributed by many of the instructors that we've listed here in the gallery of images. Those have included EGAP members, professors at various universities, as well as PhD students that came with us to help organize these workshops. They came from all across the world. They volunteered time and their expertise, helping to select the candidates, prepare lectures, and engage on site for typically a week. And over, I think, 20 instructors so far have been included, and many more have contributed with their knowledge, either through the EGAP methods guides or through creating slides with us and their wider energy in the EGAP trainings across the world. Special thanks here goes, of course, to the EGAP staff members who helped with the logistics, helped organize the workshops, and a special note to Matt Liziecki, who attended all the workshops, became a half instructor or full instructor almost himself, and helped manage all the logistics on the ground. Next slide. Now, it started with a small workshop in Sierra Leone, as I mentioned, about 7 years ago, and then moved on to Ghana, then Chile, Malawi, Guatemala. We even brought people together in Abu Dhabi from the African continent. with the Montevideo, Bogota, Cotonou, and the map shows with the stars the different places where the workshops have been held. And in all, 126 applicants to date have come to the workshops, coming from 26 different countries. We often have hundreds of applications for each time the workshop is organized. We can be very strong in the selection of who comes and who doesn't. And typically, we select about 5 participants from the host country and have 10 fly-ins from across the continent to that place to participate. And of course, that is costly, and we're deeply grateful to the Hewlett Foundation that was allowing us to offer travel, accommodation, and meals to all those participants. Next slide. Now, some of our participants are current recipients of a grant that EGAP organized to work on COVID-19 related issues. In fact, about a third of those recent grantees are beneficiaries from former Learning Days. Examples include Esther Owelle, who I think I saw sign in, who joined us in Cotonou of the Learning Days in 2019, is working the effect of information on compliance of public health measures in response to the COVID-19 crisis in Kenya. A project in Mexico features Lucia Tiscornia, who went to the Bogota Learning Days of 2019 and working on criminal governance in the COVID-19 pandemic. Juan Carlos Rodriguez Raga came to the Montevideo workshop in 2018 and has a project called When Will the Vaccine Arrive? Thinking about expectations and misinformation over COVID-19 vaccines in social media in Colombia. It's also great to note that some former participants went on to do PhDs in the US or in Europe. And one example to share is Jose David Lopez Rivas, who came to the Chile workshop with a research design, which he then workshopped and redesigned throughout that week, then used to apply for funds for his own fieldwork, implement the market paper. He was recently hired as a postdoc at Wageningen University in the Netherlands. Another example is a collaboration of Cecilia Rossell, who worked with Ana de la O, one of the instructors in the Chile workshop, and just completed a paper on income shocks and the state in Latin America, which was presented at a Congress of the Latin American Studies Association. And some of the former participants in the Learning Days have now become members of the EGAP network. Next slide. We asked some of the former participants to share their experience in participating, and they left us some short testimonials, which I think Matt will play.
I think we have to share the sound, Matt.
The sound, yeah.
Oh, is the sound not working? Sure, let me get that figured out.
When I participated in the Learning Days at Santiago de Chile, which was an amazing experience. I'm now happy to tell you that I'm a member of the network. I'm a heavy user of the network's resources, for instance, receiving and providing feedback, teaching field experiments with some of the network's tools, and leveraging on some of the network's knowledge to implement field experiments in very complex settings. I've also worked closely with other EGAP members, such as who are now my co-authors, Chris Bladman and Don Green, in implementing field experiments. Now our work has recently turned, and thankfully, into published papers. I'm glad the agenda of the Learning Days turned into a textbook now. I was a PhD student back then, and I'm sure this will be a very useful resource for researchers around the world. So thank you for this effort, and congratulations.
So my name is Mary Karumba from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm one of the participants of the experimental design workshop that was held in Malawi in February 2017. So it was a very exciting opportunity to learn how experimental designs work and the work that goes, behind having a good design prior to evaluation. So despite the fact that I haven't formally engaged myself in a full research, that had an experimental design in it, I have participated in the review of designs submitted by consultants working for the government And I'm happy to say that I felt comfortable in the review because I could understand what is going on. And I was also, in a better position, to advise on whether to approve or not approve, the design that was submitted. Thank you very much for that opportunity to EGAP, and I look forward, to working with the teams in future.
My name is Abiola Oyebanjo. I'm a doctoral researcher at the Berlin Graduate School for Global and Trans-Regional Studies. My experience with EGAP was in 2018 at the New York University in Abu Dhabi. That was my first time of learning about experimental methods and causal inference, and it served as a springboard to do many of the things in causal inference, and I also secured a PhD position in Berlin based on the knowledge that I learned at EGAP. I found that very, very fascinating.
Hello, my name is Juan Carlos Rodríguez Raga, and I'm Associate Professor of Political Science and the Co-Director of Observatorio de la Democracia at Universidad de los Andes in Bogotá, Colombia. I attended the EGAP Learning Days in February and March of 2018 in Montevideo, Uruguay. And that was great because it was possible for me to get in contact with people who do amazing stuff, and that triggered my interest in experimental techniques in trying to provide policy recommendations based on evidence. We actually have now a project with EGAP regarding misinformation on social media and vaccines against COVID-19. Thank you.
My name is Esther Wele, a labs manager at the Sarah Center for Behavioral Economics. I participated in the EGAP planning workshop in Benin in 2019. Also participated in EGAP refresher training last year. This has had a huge impact in my career, particularly being able to apply learnings I received on experimental methods in research projects that I've been involved in. I also received the EGAP COVID-19 grant, which I received a lot of feedback and support from the EGAP team.
Hi, this is Lorena Moreno from Quito, Ecuador. I attended the EGAP Learning Days in Bogotá and the online refresher. Both helped me reinforce my knowledge in experimental evaluation, have access to all types of useful resources, learn practical coding, share enriching discussions, and understand and apply the process to follow through with RCTs. In fact, I remember once my colleagues and I were developing a proposal to fund the evaluation of the implementation of virtual reality laboratories, and I still had some doubts on the design. We were a week apart from the deadline. On the Monday of that week, we also had our session with Martin Bors, who helped sort my doubts regarding how power was affected by clustering and blocking, and also the trade-off between sample and minimum detectable effect. I was able to develop a syntax with several design options, which was extremely helpful for the project. We have passed the first revision and we have high hopes for it.
Hi, my name is Lucia Tiscornia. I'm assistant professor in the Division of International Studies at CIDE in Mexico City. I attended Learning Days in 2019 in Bogotá, Colombia. The workshop was a huge help in getting a survey ready to implement. I was able to further refine it through multiple interactions with instructors, even after the workshop, as well as peer feedback through EGAP's peer response tool. The design eventually became part of a grant proposal that received funding from the Uruguayan government. Congratulations on the book launch. It is a wonderful tool, and I am sure I will be using it very soon.
Hey guys, I'm Santiago.
So, hi everybody. So why did we write this book? The first is to synthesize and organize the contributions of many instructors over the last 6 years. So to have these learning days, we've shared written and rewritten slides and spent many hours discussing how best to structure a workshop like this. And we wanted to have that solidified and ready to share. The second is that we wanted to empower our colleagues in the Global South with that accumulated experience. We want to make it easier for our colleagues to share their knowledge and to build South-South networks, in part by supporting organizing their own workshops for their own local communities of scholars and practitioners. And third, we wanted to create a platform for comments and improvements going forward. This is a public good, and we're looking forward to your contributions. And then finally, participants frequently ask us for workshop materials, and sometimes they come with research questions and settings that call for more complex designs than we can really get into in a 1-week format. So we wanted participants to have these materials organized so they can review them, but also create a way for participants to engage in further in-depth study beyond the workshop. And next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry, this is the correct slide. So this might be a little repetitive, but we envision 3 different types of users. The first, of course, is these instructors and organizers of workshops similar to the Learning Days. And some of these will be Learning Days alumni. The second is participants who want to share knowledge at their home institutions after spending time with us. And the third is participants who want to just refresh on the materials. And to make sure we reduce barriers to use, we're working on translations into Spanish and French. And we've also already heard that some of our EGAP colleagues have pointed their students and research team to the resource, and we just hope the book is used widely. So, as Jake will demonstrate in a minute, the book is organized as modules that are linked to one another. The first thing to note about this is that many of these modules are built around the methods guides written by EGAP members that we agree are the core approaches to these topics. And as these ideas and methods are extended, we'll continue to update the book. And then second, we've expanded on some of the topics we usually cover in the Learning Days. And what's new and what's expanded is marked on the slide. So there's a lot of new material for hypothesis testing, estimands and estimators, statistical power and design diagnosans, building on the Declare Design project, which I see several of the authors of that project on the call today. And we also have an expanded glossary. And we also have added some new modules on the research design process, which we talk about throughout the Learning Days, but is its own section now. We've also added modules on measurement and ethical considerations. So now let me turn this over to Jake, who will actually walk you through the book.
You're muted, Jake.
I'm going to share my screen here just to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're doing. So this is the book. The book is currently what you're seeing is a web page, and I wanted to, before I continue with the book, I wanted to give you a preface, which is that this book is designed to be improved and changed over time. It's got kind of a living thing. It was created by 3 social scientists with lots of experience in teaching at the Learning Days, but no experience making websites, or producing beautiful books. So anybody who is listening, we would love input from you in how to make things work better. We hope, however, by making it public, and I'm going to show you a little bit what I mean by making it public, and also by translating it, that'll help improve the material faster and make the book and all of the resources more and more useful as we go along. Maybe we should have just put in the chat a link to the book.
I'll add that.
Yeah, thank you. That way people can, you can poke around. Okay, so and in terms of improving the book, you can email us, as we say here. We'd love to hear from you. You can provide us input via issues on GitHub, which I'm going to show you here. This is our to-do list for the book, and you can see that I've written down that we'd like to improve the HTML slides in the future, and I found some links that were broken this morning when I was playing with the book. So I put the to-dos in, and now we all know about them. We can discuss them and we can improve them. We also included this ability here to make notes on the page. So if I don't like the word book, and I would prefer the word tome, I can add that. And then now we will know, we can have a debate about whether I should use old-fashioned words like tome or not. And we can have a discussion about that. I'm going to delete that for now because, of course, that's a joke comment. Now, about the book itself, it's an HTML version. Up here, you can download a PDF version or an EPUB version. We've spent much less time on making the those look beautiful, but you can download it for offline use. And the book really is a set of modules that link to different topics. So for example, under the randomization topic, we provide a little bit of overview about what are we talking about? What is randomization? What are the key takeaways from say a day or a morning of discussing randomization? For example, random assignment is not the same as random sampling. Further into each of the modules, we have links to slides. So for example, we could look at the PDF of the slides. It begins by saying randomization, that's the topic of, say, the lecture for the day. Fill in your name, and that's because this is for an instructor to fill out. We would like instructors to change and improve these slides as we go, for example. The slides are just like academic slides, too many words, quite boring, but exciting for people who want to, say, use code, learn to actually randomize, get their hands dirty, for example. Okay. We also include links to the EGAP methods guide. So for example, here's a methods guide about how to do randomization, which also includes code. So you can learn to you can dig further into it. All the slides used by previous presenters, as well as links to textbooks and policy briefs. So examples of designs throughout the book. The other thing to point out is that since this is for instructors, we have the slides themselves are in a separate, where are we? Here. They're in a separate repository, and this may be the first time many of you have seen GitHub, but this is a way that people collaborate on code or on plain text. So if I was an instructor, I could make a copy of all of this and make, say, changes to the randomization slides. Maybe I'd fill in my name here, for example, or make any changes, and then any improvements I make, I could contribute back to the main repository. And we could be happy to talk more about those processes of improvement as we go along. So I think that's all I have to say. So I'll stop sharing my screen and we can move on to the next steps.
So great. So the next step is actually to ask you to explore the book. So we have 3 questions for you to respond to in 10 minutes. We're going to send you out into little breakout rooms. The questions are at this link, which we'll put in the chat box. And then we'll have Q&A to follow. So hopefully this will be a little bit of fun.
Dun, dun, dun. Here are the results. So in question 1, only one person wrote dance randomization. That was me, actually. I wanted to see if it actually worked, but it looks like the book is working.
Non-compliance.
There were early learning days where there was a dance experiment that I forget exactly how that worked. Maybe Martin can tell us later.
Yeah, it was about compliance.
Right, you
So
randomly assign people to dance.
To dance and not dance, and you got a little note on whether you were listening to the dance and not dance or not. Right,
and some people refuse to dance.
Some people refuse to dance. Some people always dance. We get 2-sided non-compliance.
Yeah. You put the defier in there as well.
But it seems like, what an amazing book where everybody gets the right answers. Okay, so I don't think I need to continue with this, right? Okay, back to the next part of the presentation.
Yes, which is the Q&A.
Yeah, so the next part is just open Q&A. So you can just put your name in the chat, and that puts you in the queue to just ask your question. Or if you'd rather just type in your question into the chat, please do that. Floor is open. comments, suggestions. It doesn't have to be a question.
Or offer your help to work on the HTML slides.
Yes.
So we have a question from Kaming Chan. Thanks for the great initiative. I was wondering if the EGAP will extend a training to Asia. We would love to do that. If you have some ideas on partners, it would be, we'd love to talk with you. So thank you for the idea.
So Cyrus is asking about, I was thinking about this exact question about how to help people who are not making their own research designs, but who are managing contracts for policy evaluations, for example. And that's definitely on our list of things to pay attention to. I'm not sure if there would be a module. Actually, if anybody who'd like to collaborate with us on that, that would be really useful, because this is becoming a big growing concern, which is, if you're not going to do the research, how can you ensure that the research that you're contracting for is of the right quality and is actionable and credible?
One thing to mention is that we're looking to expand EGAP's general suite of capacity building programming into the realm of content for practitioners and research consumers. So look for that in the coming weeks and months.
We've seen Mary in the video, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Kenya, that was in policy and participated. And typically we've had about a third of participants come from various government bodies or from NGOs who don't always do studies, but they fund them or they consume them. And with Dawn, for example, we've organized several of these workshops for people at various FCDO or previously DFID offices. And recently with Nahomi, we try to work up what a training program would look like. But anybody, just echoing Nahomi's comment, interesting through, I'm very happy to talk about that.
Great.
Yeah, who'd like to take Alex's question, which is, can you talk us through the choices you faced when writing the book? And we can talk a lot about how to do one online.
I mean, I'll start actually.
Okay.
So it became hard to not write an actual textbook and to keep our eyes for now on a book that would be of use to instructors in essence, we've done the reverse that most people do. Is instead of writing a textbook and then an instructor's guide, we've written the instructor's guide first. But that was a tough choice, I think, that I recall us saying, hold on, this is the instructor's guide.
Yeah, and a lot of things that were already developed by, as I mentioned, all those who have come and taught with us at the various workshops. And it was basically asking them permission to use their work. But there's also been improvements gradually over time, right? So trying to see if we can distill a set of slides that work for everyone. So a lot of time went into actually creating that core content. And that was the content-wise, in addition to, the technical start of making it interactive with the other resources on the EGAP website, right? The methods guides were mentioned. The policy briefs as examples is another one. But the toughest one is just being how to get GitHub and the website to communicate with each other and not have the slides run off the pages. I mean, that was the hours of coding work. We all learned a lot.
We did.
It could still be improved.
That makes it sound like it wasn't Jake who did so much of that work with Martin and me watching from the side.
That's true.
But true. The other choice, I think, which was resolved in part by eyes on the prize of focusing on instructors, is about how much code to include, because getting more resources. We get participants asking about more resources for getting going with code, getting this thing actually running in the workshops, but putting in a lot of code actually makes it hard to read in lots of ways. And to know that our first audience, in some senses, is past participants and instructors who will be able to cut down on that, allowed us to actually expand on it so that for the people who want to access that, it's there without worrying, about like, if this is a textbook, is this just going to turn people away?
But we hope really to hear from people that will use it and try it out, maybe as a pilot or in your course or in a workshop, and see what works, right? This is our best guess. There's all of social science is about best guesses, but this is our best guess at getting this right. But also be great if people want to share if they imagine using a book, what they imagine using it for.
Yeah. We've
shared the license in the book, so feel free. Just, attribute and then just use and adjust and improve. It's great if you let us know, but if any of you has thoughts already on your course, then let us know. It'd be great to hear you.
And we'd be happy to talk through about, the how to use GitHub or how to get access to the book. When we say it's public and how to make, and you can make copies, there are ways like just downloading it all as a zip file onto your computer, but there's also ways which, allow you to sort of connect up and communicate more smoothly with us, for example.
So then let me just sum up with where we're going with this. So where do we go from here? So late last year, late 2020, we organized a refresher workshop for the past participants, and that ran for 6 weeks. And we're planning on another one later this year. So please keep your eyes open for that. And going forward, we're really excited about supporting satellite versions of the Learning Days, building on the book, and with our Global South colleagues taking the lead on this. And of course, I just want to make sure we say thanks again to Matt, who is the Senior Methods Manager, who has been so important for all these workshops and keeping in touch with our participants. And let me just repeat again that the book is a live thing. We're waiting for your comments and contributions. We have these plans for improvements that include the translations and also improvements by our translators as they come up with new ideas, including videos explaining concepts, mini concepts or examples in various languages. So we'll be engaging with our participants that way as well. And then just finally, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really, really excited to launch this book out into the world. And we're looking forward to hearing from you and seeing you again really soon. So thank you.
And I just wanted to say thanks again to everybody who's, there many more than the 20 people who were listed who flew around the world to be instructors contributed to all of the materials. Everybody in the EGAP network and outside of it has been so generous with this effort to create these workshops. And we kind of have like synthesized this amazing amount of generosity into this book.
Okay, maybe then lastly, it's good to see so many past participants.
I agree.
Very nice.
So with that, let's end things with a massive thanks once again to Naomi, Jake, and Martin. And thank you all for joining us to hear about the book today. Take care.